I'm just happy that Tua is back next week because it is so clear how much of a difference he makes to this team. 3 straight losses now without him, dropping to 3-3 on the season. In this one, Dolphins lose 24-16 to the Vikings. Skylar Thompson started the game, obviously, 7 for 13, 89 yards, then got injured. Right thumb injury in his throwing hand, did not return to the game. Teddy Bridgewater, of course, was the backup and took over. 23 for 34, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That one interception at the very end, or actually at the beginning before halftime, wasn't really his fault. That was basically on Waddle. Tyreek Hill, the MVP in this game in the receiving game, 12 receptions for 177 yards. Jalen Waddle, a lot to talk about him in a bit. 6 receptions for 129 yards. Mike Gesicki, the best game of his season so far. 6 receptions for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. And on the Viking side, Kirk Cousins, 20 for 30, 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't really even have himself a great game. Dalvin Cook, 13 for 77 and 1 touchdown. If we take away his last carry of the game, which went for 55 yards in that touchdown, he basically ends the game with like 12 carries for 20-something yards and 0 touchdowns. So the Dolphins' run defense was really nice other than that very last run of the game from Dalvin Cook. Receiving game for the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, of course, the man he is. He had a pretty stellar game. 6 receptions for 170 yards. Definitely not as bad as what we've seen him do to other teams this season. Adam Thielen, 4 receptions for 36 yards. KJ Osborne, 3 receptions for 18 yards. And the Dolphins lose another game, 3 in a row. This one by only 1 possession. Now I know your instant reaction is just going to be like, you see everybody out on our team. The injuries are the reason we lost this game, which I'm not going to totally disagree with. That I'm going to talk about in a bit. But this game is on, you can make all the excuses you want, sure, but the one thing I'm not going to let anybody blame this game on is the defense. This defense forced 10 3-and-outs for the Vikings offense, which has been pretty dominant this season. 4-1, now up to 5-1 after this game. The Vikings offense has looked pretty good, especially after hiring an offensive-minded head coach, just like Miami did in Kevin O'Connell. Or O'Connor? No, I think it's O'Connell. And obviously, you've Kirk Cousins, who has a lot of winning experience. Maybe not too much winning, but he has experience in the NFL. Justin Jefferson, a top 3 receiver who's still 22 or 23 years old, maybe 24. Adam Thielen, who still has a lot of juice left in the tank. KJ Osborne, another young receiver. Irv Smith, who's been a really nice young tight end. Just a lot of weapons. And then obviously the running game, Dalvin Cook, one of the best in the league. You have a lot of weapons on that offense. So for the defense, 10 3-and-outs this game was really impressive. And that last touchdown, like I said, Dalvin Cook, 55 yards. You take away that, obviously you can't take away the touchdown, but if you want to remove that from all the stats, this defense only bled up about 16 points this game because they ended up going for 2. But it was a really, really annoying game because the Dolphins really beat themselves. Even past all the injuries, which I'm going to get to in a second, there were just so many blown opportunities that the Dolphins had to win this game. That one drive where Skylar Thompson was leading the Dolphins downfield, there were 4 or 5 different flags just inside of Minnesota territory that kicked us even out of field goal range. That was probably the most frustrating drive of the game, probably behind the one at the end with the fumble. But the inactives for this game, obviously Tuanon, we knew that well beforehand. Myles Gaskin, Eric Uzakama, Kader Kohu, and Tuanon Armstead, those 2 were probably the most impactful. John Jenkins and Durian Smythe. Durian Smythe was one of those guys that people weren't really talking about, but he was a pretty big loss in this game. I'm going to get to the O-line in a bit. But this is everybody that was out this game and ended up leaving the game. Obviously, Tua was out. Skylar Thompson ended up leaving the game, and he could not have returned. Even McDaniel said that he was literally physically incapable to return. Obviously, the thumb is the big part of that hand. When you're gripping the football, the thumb is the one that holds it in place. If you don't have that thumb, you have nothing to grip the football with, so it makes sense that he was not able to return to the game. Durian Smythe, like I said, was a pretty big factor. Tuanon Armstead did not play. Austin Jackson did not play. Both of those guys expected to be back for the Steelers game. Emmanuel Ogbah left the game. So did Trey Flowers, too. Both of them didn't return, I'm pretty sure. Byron Jones didn't play. Nick Needham ended up leaving the game. This injury I'm going to get to in a bit because that's such a big loss for the season. Keon Crossen ended up leaving the game, didn't return. Then Kader Kohu was out. So that's 4 cornerbacks right there. And the only one we have 5 cornerbacks that I'm comfortable with on the roster, and there's only one of them that was able to stay in the game today. Just really, really annoying what it's come to. And the cornerbacks now for the rest of the season basically kind of lining up as Xavier Howard, Byron Jones. We don't know when he's going to return. It's setback after setback every single week. In the spring, they said he was going to be ready for preseason. Now we're already moving on to week 7, still without him playing a snap. Kader Kohu, I think he should be back next week. Keon Crossen, I think the injury is not that significant. Noah Igbenogany had a really, really good game today. First play he came in after the Nick Needham injury, they targeted him downfield, and Adam Thielen drew a defense pass interference, and I'm like Noah's back. Like, he's getting cut soon or getting traded, but he ended up having nearly 2 interceptions, actually. He ended up having himself a pretty stellar game, and even Justin Bethel, the special teams, was playing at cornerback, which was, if you have Justin Bethel, who's the special teams cornerback, playing as a starting cornerback, you obviously know that something's up. You need to make a trade for a cornerback. William Jackson is searching for a new home. He obviously doesn't like being in Washington. That may be something to explore. Free agent cornerback, you need to make some type of move soon, especially before the deadline with all these injuries that we have. The O-line was also really bad. I know no Armstead, no Austin Jackson, no Darius Smythe, who's our top blocker other than those 5 offensive line. But there was just too many bad plays, and Teddy Bridgewater could not make it any worse. In the pocket, his feet would not move. When he takes the snap and he drops back, his feet don't move. Either he just stands still in the pocket before he gets hit by his own O-line, or he tries to spin out of it into a pass rusher. Teddy Bridgewater is not the guy that can get things done for us. Definitely not. Skylar Thompson's still young. He's inexperienced. He played all right, and he was leading us downfield multiple drives, but obviously with that injury and stuff, he couldn't come back in the game. And at that point, you have Teddy kind of in the game. He's in the rhythm. You have the playbook designed to him. I think at that point you just say, let's just keep him in for the rest of the game. But this game was just like the Jets game. There were so many blown opportunities in the Jets game, and that's exactly what we saw in this game here today. 7 straight punts to open up this game. It was really boring at the start. Dolphins ended up coming down and scoring a field goal, 3-0 to start. Vikings ended up coming back down, scoring a touchdown, wide open to Irv Smith. They were at the goal line. They were just bound to score. And then the Dolphins come down. They're in field goal range. Jason Sanders misses it. That 5-year, $90 million contract has not been looking so hot this season at all. 52 yards is not a gimme, but for the trust and the money you're making, you better be able to hit that. But the Dolphins were able to force another 3-and-out, which, like I said, this defense was playing out of their mind today. Teddy Bridgewater was trying to lead them downfield with like a couple seconds to go, but obviously was not really going to happen until he throws to Jalen Waddle. Ball. He does that thing where he jumps up and he tries to bring it into his chest, and it was bound to happen soon. I hope he learns that it's going to bounce off of your chest and it's going to end up in the hands of a defender. That's exactly what happened. Harrison Smith made a great defensive play, and it led for the Vikings to get 3 points before the half. And this is the play. This is the drive coming out of the half that just made me realize that this defense was actually playing really, really well today. The Dolphins basically go 3-and-out, and on 4th and 1 from their own 30-yard line, they decide to fake the punt, have Clayton Fajedelim run outside and try to get the first down, but obviously he was not able to. And then the Vikings get the ball at Miami's 32, and the defense forces another 3-and-out. Not only that, but to lose 12 yards on the play to push them out of field goal range. Christian Wilkins was insane on that drive, had like 2 straight tackles for loss, a couple more punts, and then the Vikings ended up coming down and scoring a field goal. Justin Jefferson completely torched Xavier Howard off of the line. That basically led to the touchdown. And then this is the point that I'm kind of thinking, I think that we come back and win this game. 16-3, we've seen the Vikings blow leads. We know that the Dolphins can come back from leads. and this is where I thought it would happen. The Dolphins are driving. Mike Gesicki gets a touchdown, and I'm thinking, here it is. There's a rhythm that's about to start here. A punt forced the Vikings to another 3-and-out, and then the Dolphins are driving. There's about 2 minutes left in the game, or 3 minutes actually. Dolphins are driving in Minnesota territory. Jalen Waddle across the middle, first down, tries to make a bit extra. Ball comes out, and that is basically the game. Dalvin Cook ran for like a 60-yard touchdown. Then Teddy threw an interception. Dolphins are now at 3-3 on the season. I think you focus, you get Tua back, you get everybody back. I think Tuanon Armstead should be coming back. I think Austin Jackson is coming back. Byron Jones, who knows, maybe. I think you get Cross and Kohu, those guys potentially, probably back. And you've a somewhat healthy team, a pretty healthy team. Now going forward, the Steelers, the Lions, the Bears, the Texans, the Browns. That's 5 teams who aren't making the playoffs. You need to capitalize in these 5 or 6 weeks because of the bye, whatever. You need to get at least 5 wins. We only play 5 teams out of those 5 teams. 5 wins out of those 5 teams. You need to win every single one of those to keep your season alive. Because then after that, you travel to San Francisco, you play the 49ers, you travel to LA, you play the Chargers. I think you travel to Buffalo after that, you play the Bills, come back down, play the Packers, you go back up to Foxborough, play the Patriots, and you come back down for the Jets, who we better win that game. You have a really tough stretch. You have these 5 games coming up that you have to win. But I'm just so glad that Tua is coming back because it's obvious that he's going to have to be the one that saves our season. 3-0 with him. He goes down now 3 straight losses in a row. This team has been a mess. We need to get back on track. I think the Steelers game should be the game to put us back on track to make the playoffs this season. This game was just a game of blown opportunities, and obviously we need to play better. But that will wrap up. Really disappointed. Would have loved to have a win and be 4-2 going into this easy stretch, but hey, this is the point in the season that I actually had the Dolphins being at 3-3 and still ended up going 11-6. But I had us being 3-3 at this point in the season, and then getting 5 straight wins over those 5 teams that I listed. So Dolphins are gonna have to play strong in this next stretch before their tough stretch going down to California, then Buffalo, then a lot of tough teams. But either way, that'll wrap up. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.